Okay, it looks like you're live.
Good evening. The meeting of the West Hartford Library Board will come to order. Welcome to the April 25th, 2022 meeting of the West Hartford Library Board. My name is Eileen Daly and I am the chair of the West Hartford Library Board. This meeting is being conducted in a virtual format in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act, as amended by Public Act number 21-2, which authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television at www.whctv.org and at www.youtube.com/WHCTV5. Meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website for at least 45 days. Since we are conducting this meeting in a virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to mute your device when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you in the order I see hands raised. If you are participating by audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, all speakers must make a good faith effort to state the person's name and title at the outset of each occasion that such person participates in the meeting. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant has a problem with connectivity, you should immediately call Janet Valensis, whose phone number you were provided earlier. Janet will let me know and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask you to call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. I'll now call the roll and note the staff members who are present. Jill Spear.
Here.
Okay. Laura Ermshire.
Here.
Natalia Menjivar.
Here.
Eileen Daly. Here. Oh. Beg your pardon. Also present is Laura Ermshire, Library Director, Office Operations Specialist, Janet Valensis. And will we be seeing any library staff members today, Laura?
Not tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I think that brings us to the beginning of our meeting. Is there any public comment? Okay. Move on to the next item, approval of the consent agenda. Are items 4, 8AI and 8AII. Can we do any of this? Do we have enough?
I move that we approve the consent agenda. This is Jill Spear, Library Board member. Excuse me.
Okay. And Natalie, I think it has to be Natalia. It has to be you.
Yep, Natalia
Okay.
Menjivar, Library Board member, second approval for the consent agenda.
All right. Thank you. And the next item is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of March 28th, 2022. Mila, okay. Natalia,
Motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting, March 28th.
Jill,
Library Board member Jill Spear, second the motion.
thank you.
I think we already had that in the consent agenda though, so
Oh, we did, my bad. Okay.
double approved.
The double twins, okay. So moving on to number 5, the chair's report. Has nothing to report for this evening's meeting. So we'll move on to old business, which includes the fiscal year 2023 budget update and the library issues and trends, intellectual freedom.
I can take those, Eileen, if you're ready.
I am.
Thanks. Laura Armstrong, Library Director. For the budget update, it's a quick one. The town council is actually meeting tonight to vote on the budget. So I will have an update after tonight's meeting. I'm not anticipating any changes to the library budget that we submitted, but we will know for sure after tonight. And then I don't know if I should ask this now, but I'm not sure if the board has to vote to approve the budget after the town council vote, or if that's already taken care of with our first submittal.
That's already taken care of with our,
Perfect.
we supported the submission.
Okay.
Perfect.
Great. So hopefully I will have confirmed good news for you after tonight's meeting. And then is it all right if I go on to the second item?
Yes. Yes.
Great, thank you. So this is our second feature in the new section, Library Issues and Trends. And tonight we're going to talk about intellectual freedom. And so I wanted to start just with a definition of intellectual freedom so you all understand, or we're all on the same page with this. So the ALA defines it as the right of every individual to both seek and receive information from all points of view without restriction. It provides for free access to all expressions of ideas through which any and all sides of a question, cause, or movement may be explored. And I'm bringing it up tonight because you may have heard reports on book challenges and bans in the news. It's been a topic coming up in many states across the country. And I wanted to take the opportunity this evening to tell you what some libraries are experiencing and the policies and procedures we have in place in West Hartford if someone asks about or challenges materials in our collection. The American Library Association tracked challenges or bans to 1,597 individual books at libraries, schools, and universities in 2021. And this was a huge increase from previous years. Of the top 10 challenged books, 5 of them were challenged for LGBTQIA+ content. Many other books are challenged due to profanity, violence, and racism. In addition to the concerning number of books being removed, the reports about how books are being removed is equally problematic. Many libraries are receiving challenges from large, well-funded, coordinated groups that are organizing in many states. And additionally, PEN America reports that 41% of school book bans were linked to directives from state officials or elected lawmakers rather than any concerns coming from community members. We have national and state organizations that have intellectual freedom committees that support libraries who receive challenges or questions from the public on how to handle these. In February, the Connecticut Library Association adopted an intellectual freedom statement against censorship. The statement opens by saying, the Connecticut Library Association advocates and educates in defense of intellectual freedom, the rights of library users to read, speak freely, and have unrestricted access to information is guaranteed by the First Amendment. We are committed to defending the constitutional rights of all individuals of all ages to use the resources and services of libraries. The attacks on library collections can lead to demoralized staff who may be hesitant to select or promote materials for fear of a backlash. Public support for the work of librarians and the strength of selection policies can help address some individual concerns that staff may have. And now turning to what we have here, the West Hartford Public Library's material selection policy was revised and adopted by the Library Board in October of 2018. The policy points to the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights and Freedom to Read Statement, which are the core documents that speak to intellectual freedom for the library profession. Our material selection policy governs how staff select materials for the West Hartford Public Library collection. And the policy outlines a number of criteria that are considered by professional librarians when making any selection decisions. When patrons question why an item is or isn't in the library's collection, our first step is to refer them to our material selection policy. It's more common for us to get informal questions, either at a reference desk or through email. Patrons do have the option of going through a formal reconsideration procedure by filling out a form we have in our policy. We don't currently have any challenges on record at our library, but that doesn't mean that one might not come in the future. And so I wanted to bring this topic to your attention and to make sure the board is aware that of the issue and that your role is to be prepared with strong policies, which I think you have in the material selection policy, to stay informed about the issue and know what resources are available should this be needed here in West Hartford. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. And I'm also happy to send out to the board any additional information or any of the statements or resources that I mentioned here. Oh, Gail, I think you're on, or I'm sorry, Eileen, I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I put myself on mute so you don't hear me, and then anyhow. So thank you for that report. With that kind of, within those parameters, does that mean that a young child could check out Ulysses or an adult book? Probably not, right? The librarian would stop them.
So in our policy, the responsibility for children's checking out of anything lies with the parents. So we don't make any decisions about what children do. We shelve and organize the collection so that the material is in the appropriate location. So if it's adult content, we don't put it in the children's room. But we
Okay.
don't actually have anything where we would prohibit a child from checking out something because it's the responsibility of a parent to determine what is appropriate for their child to check out.
That makes sense. All righty. All right. Yeah. All right, so anybody else set with everything that Laura said? No. The number 7 is the main meeting location. It looks like we're going live, people. What I thought this was going to be the last round of Zoom WebEx. Is that your understanding?
Yeah, if I could jump in, it's my understanding that the current law that allows for virtual meetings expires in 5 days, I think. And I believe that there's a law working its way through the General Assembly, but it's not finalized. And so for planning purposes, I don't know what will be the result of that law, but
Okay.
since May in particular, we'll have a meeting and the law allowing virtual meetings goes away. So it's been recommended to me to pass on to the board that you plan for the May meeting to be in person. And by the time May happens, I think you may have more information on if this law is in place to continue. You can decide if you want in-person or virtual meetings. But it's my understanding that the May meeting should be in person to make sure, just in case there's a holdup with anything about the law allowing for virtual meetings.
That makes sense. All
And
right.
I also, oh, sorry,
Yes.
I just also wanted to pass along the, and you may be familiar with this already, but there has to be a quorum in person for the meeting for any votes to count and for the meeting to be officially held.
Okay. Jill?
Jill Spear, library board member. I was just going to say the same thing. We have to have a quorum, which for us is a 5-member board is 3 people. That doesn't mean that somebody couldn't listen in, but they would not be, in my understanding, we had lots of discussions, as you can imagine, with corporation counsel and classes on how to do this. Not classes, but discussions on how we would manage this. And the law does provide for hybrid meetings, which would mean some members would be in person, some members would be virtual. However, the town corporation council was working their way through the laws, and it's very complex to make a hybrid board meeting work. And I mean, like you can't imagine. And so they suggested we either stay all hybrid or all in person, but that doesn't mean that you could, as long as you have a quorum, you're a meeting. So if some member outside the quorum wanted to meet, still listen in virtually, they could.
Okay.
Again, we talked about does this force members who are uncomfortable or in compromised health state or whatever to have to be in a live meeting? And they were saying, well, no, as long as you have a quorum in whatever is the official venue for that meeting. And I imagine, just like Laura said, that they'll send us an update, and keep us apprised of what's happening with the laws as they go forward.
Sounds good. Sounds promising. And however it ends up. So do we
will
need to
reserve
discuss?
Janet Valentis, Operations Specialist. I will
Yes.
reserve the boardroom for the May meeting.
Oh, thank you, Janet. Very good. I know where to show up. All right, so Laura, it looks like you're back up for director's reports. Oh,
Yes, thank you.
hold on, I know we approved some of these already. You just want to do the quarterly stats? Or do you want to do the whole report?
Yeah, so I think this is the list of documents that we submitted to the board, and then I'll do my monthly briefing, which is covered under 8B. That will probably include some of the things that were in the documents, but I'll give my verbal report to the board if you're ready for that.
Yeah.
Great. So Laura Armstrong, Library Director. So I wanted to start by highlighting some statistics. So in March, our total circulation was 58,680, and this includes both physical and digital checkouts. And I did, just as a side note, when I talk about circulation, I usually will include both of those numbers because I see it as our total circulation. And I'll make a distinction if I'm talking about one or the other, but I see it as the circulation for the whole library. And so this was our highest month since before the pandemic began. And I think it's another good sign that more and more people are using the library, they're using our services, they're coming in, and I love to see those numbers climbing. I also have an update for you on our new community center library project. So the firm has been selected, and Tecton Architects of Hartford will be the firm conducting the feasibility study. And we have an internal team that I'm on, and we're meeting with the architects at the end of this week to go over some logistics, and then they'll meet with the advisory committee. It's anticipated to start in May. I think that the town had hoped for that to start a little earlier, and then budget season hit and kind of took up everybody's time. But we're hoping that the advisory committee will convene and start meeting in May. I also wanted to update you on some recruitment. So we are in the process of recruiting for multiple part-time staff positions here. We're looking for people in reference, circulation, and IT, and for reference and circulation, both in adult and children's. As I mentioned with the statistics, we're getting busier, and as we continue to move closer to our pre-pandemic activity levels, we need more staff to make sure we have them on call to be covering, especially when we have either vacations or unplanned absences. And I'm hoping that I'm able to report to you soon about some new staff members joining our team.
Great.
The Mayor's Youth Council has been continued to be very busy. Recently, they collected 148 signatures from residents to sign a petition called Application for the Honorary and Historic Renaming of Public Streets. This petition we've mentioned before, but just to remind you, it proposes to change the name of New Street to Dinah Road in honor of two women who were enslaved in West Hartford in the 1700s. The Mayor's Youth Council members will speak at a town planning and zoning meeting on May 2nd, where the public will be invited to speak for or against the renaming. We had our great event, West Hartford Reads, earlier this month with author Gish Jen in Town Hall Auditorium. Gish Jen was an engaging speaker who answered many questions from the audience. And after a number of several pandemic-related delays, the staff were thrilled to finally host this event and be able to see the public in person responding to an author and having everyone gather together. So we're really happy to see that come together. Our children's librarians have been delighted to see so many kids attending their in-person programs. Bailey, our children's librarian at Bishop's, recently started a new story time session. She runs 2 programs on Wednesdays and 1 on Thursdays. And at Faxon, Ellen's Monday and Tuesday Mother Goose on the Loose programs were filled to capacity and even had wait lists for those. The art committee has facilitated some great art shows at the Noah Webster Library. In March, Sandy Hutterman showcased memorabilia from the Connecticut Bank and Trust in our display case. And the National Honor Society from Hall and Conard High Schools displayed their artwork in our gallery. And currently we have Away with Words up, which is an art show celebrating the written word. And that is up through the end of May. For community engagement, I had the opportunity to attend my first Elmwood Business Association meeting, and I talked to some folks about some opportunities for library partnerships, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to meet more community members and see how we can partner with some area businesses. Promote and I met with Alan Salzman-Fisk, president of the Golden Door Center for Immigrants, and Manuela Canales, vice president of Conard High PTO. And the 4 of us talked about community needs for the new library and community center project. and the importance of keeping the community involved and informed about the significant project. And it was a nice opportunity for me to hear directly from them about what they're hoping to see in the new library and start dreaming about what that space could look like. Promote spoke at Connecticut Library Consortium's Immigration and Multicultural Services Roundtable. He described the various West Hartford Public Libraries in-person help and digital resources for new arrivals to help them learn English, citizenship classes, access to computers and hotspots. Promote also spoke about the library's involvement with various town commissions and committees, advocating on behalf of new arrivals in town and connecting them to various town resources, including social services and schools. And there's a few upcoming meetings and events that library staff are participating in that I thought you might like to be aware of. On Wednesday night of this week, I'll be attending Passing the Torch, which is a community celebration of the 50th anniversary of Title IX and the establishment of girls' sports at Hall High School. This celebration of the anniversary will bring together educators, coaches, athletes, and community leaders whose efforts help to empower young women by advocating for equal opportunities in our schools on and off the field of athletics. At the end of the event, I'll accept a commemorative book that was written about this topic on behalf of the library, and we'll be adding it to our local history collection. On May 3rd and 4th, library staff will be attending the Connecticut Library Association Conference. This is the first time the conference will be in person in a few years, and we're really excited to connect with our colleagues across the state. The keynote speaker this year is Tracy Hall, the ALA's executive director. The theme of her presentation is information redlining the role of libraries in disrupting the growing socioeconomic divide. Her talk will center on how the current public health crisis has exposed and exacerbated the deep employment, education, and basic information access divides in the country, and the role of libraries in community recovery and resilience. And lastly, on May 23rd, I was invited to the West Hartford Rotary, and I'm looking forward to meeting the group and giving a short presentation on the library. So that wraps up my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And I also wanted to mention next month, we're planning to have Maura Boudreau come on for our staff spotlight to talk about some programs and publicity. And I'm always open to feedback and any topics or staff or departments that you would like to see featured. Feel free to either mention them now, or if you want to shoot me an email, things that you might be interested in, we're happy to put that together for you. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Laura. Natalia.
Natalia Menjivar, library board member. It just got me thinking, Laura, when you mentioned Maura, that my hope personally is that the cookbook club can get back in person at the library. We got a really good group there, and I know people are eager to come back in person.
But I have to tell you, when I was applying for the job, when I saw that existed, that was like super high on my list of I can't wait to join that club. So we're excited too. But it's good to hear that you're excited for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to talk to the staff and see when we're ready to bring that back.
Gail.
Hi, I am here. Hi, Laura. I have several little questions. I hope they're little. One is getting back to the feasibility advisory committee that you're on. Can you provide, or do you know what the demographic cultural makeup is of that committee? Because I know different parties are participatory, but I don't know where their names are, and I don't know if the town has done, at least I haven't seen it, so maybe just because I overlooked it or don't know, haven't really addressed this issue of the makeup of the various groups that are opining or weighing in, reviewing, the design and purpose and so forth for the new center. So since you said you were part of it, I thought I'd take this opportunity to throw this question at you. It may not be one you can answer, but I certainly would appreciate if you could get it and share it, because I do think it's important. And if you think I need to contact someone and said, hey, you all need to put something in WeHire somewhere to let the citizens of this town know who are active, participating residents in this endeavor, because I think in terms of transparency and inclusivity, that is very, very important, particularly in this issue. Two, the Gish Gin event. What was the attendance like? I'm curious. Do you think, yeah, so what was the attendance like? How would you, aside from her being there and being present and speaking, I'm just curious what the draw was. I'm sorry, I had planned to attend, but I had, as usual, one too many competing conflicts. I had to make a decision and I couldn't get there. So I apologize. And I don't know if it's available, rebroadcast through YouTube, because if it is, I will certainly go and plug into it. And my third question had to do with, so when you were talking about how you and Pramod had spoken with various groups like the Golden Door, and you're trying to establish library partnerships, could you be a little bit more specific, like in terms of the partnerships? I know you mentioned town commissions and other groups, but who are you? Have we expanded yet our outreach into the community of non-government type groups in town? So I know Promote pretty much has the Nepalese community covered and that angle, but there are so many other folks in this town who just are not part of the library, period. Programming or whatever. And as you know, that's my niche. And that's why I'm here on this board, to hopefully help us do a better job or connect in ways. And I know you just got here, so please, I'm not attacking you or holding you responsible, but I don't want this to slip on the radar screen with our activities and programs, because it's not, when I still hear people say, well, it's not about us, it's about them, that really touches me. And I don't mean they're coming up to me or sending me letters or stuff. I just randomly, whether I'm out and about, and I just know when I talking about the library, they know where it is, and they go, oh, yeah, my kids get books from there. And then, but do you go to the programs? Do you get the newsletter? Are you aware of what we're doing? And frequently the answer is no. So I think that's still a big issue for this West Hartford Public Library in terms of outreach.
So thank you, Gail. I can try to take those questions in order and answer what I can and work on what I don't have for you tonight. So first up, you asked about the, I think your question was the makeup of the advisory committee for the new community center library project. And I will check in with the town to see if there's a list that we can distribute. I know that they had reached out to several groups and we're waiting to hear back on who was the representative from the group. So that might have been what's been delaying some of it, is not having the full membership. But I agree with you. We want to make sure that people are aware who's on that board or on that committee. So I will see if there is a finalized list that can be shared or where they are with that. The second question you asked about was the Gish Gen event. And I think there was somewhere around 60 to 65 people attending, but I forgot to get that number before the meeting. So that's my rough memory of it. It certainly wasn't the attendance that we have seen in other West Hartford Read events, but there was a lot going on. This event was delayed multiple times. We're still trying to figure out how many people are excited to be gathering in person for things like that. So I think it was a decent turnout given the situation. We did have it available online. It wasn't on YouTube due to the author's contract. We had, forget the service we had it on. I think the time might have expired, but I'm going to double. We only had it for a short window after the event. I think we only had it for a few weeks, but I will double check to see if that has expired or if we have any access to it yet. And your third question was about partnerships. So Yeah, so I definitely hear you on that, and I am eager to meet with anyone who wants to meet with me. So if you have any contacts who want to talk to the library director, please pass them my way. I had at the Elmwood Business Association meeting, I chatted with someone from the Future School, and we talked about having some area libraries get together for library card signups. And I talked with another business member that I'm forgetting right now, but I'm following up with them on what the library can do to work with them. And I've been talking with Promote about some of the area community members that maybe aren't representing an organization, but have ties to the community that are interested in the library, either offering or enhancing programs. So some of the things we talked about was meeting space and how that's such a need for a lot of groups. And what does the library have now? And what are some things that we might want to think about for a future building for this project? And what are the needs that we need to, we're not meeting now that might need to be incorporated in a space like that. But to your larger point, totally agree with you that there's a lot of work to be done, and happy to take suggestions and keep working on that.
So I have given and talked about multiple times that extended list in our community, which was partly put together by Chuck Corsi and myself. I know Promote have, and I was under the thought Maura was supposed to especially have that list. As I understand, she's kind of oversees that, especially as we're coming up on Juneteenth, and also promoting the library. Gertrude Blank's event would be amongst those, but I don't know how I can say it anymore than you guys have the list. And I know you haven't contacted Wasco, and you know, all I have to say is I just trying to understand is, if you're short staffed, overwhelmed, extended, but in terms of the outreach, this is how we're going to get the library to grow beyond just the normal faces that you all are accustomed to seeing. And people have to feel that they can have an investment in what we're doing besides taking out books or videos or whatever. So for example, the cooking show strikes me as not cooking show, the cooking club, is that what it's called? That just strikes me as a wonderful opportunity to reach out to multicultural ethnic groups, the cookbook club, whatever, to get people involved through what I call easy access, no heavy lifting kinds of opportunities. So I'm going to keep bantering on this probably until I lose my breath. But I'm getting there's this better sense that the library is making its best efforts, and I know Promote can't do it all. I mean, he's one person, and this is a huge mission. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll definitely keep trying to do better. And I agree, Promote, this isn't the job of one person. This is the library's job to reach out to the community.
Okay. So it looks like we've wrapped up already. So I have the next meeting is scheduled for May 23rd, 2022. And do I have a motion for an adjournment? Or are there any last words? Gail? Oh, you're
No,
doing
I
a motion?
motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second? Talia,
Second.
thank you. All right, so this meeting has come to a close. We'll see you next month. And thank you for your time this evening. Good night.